Being a good GM requires consistency, endless preparation, and player appreciation. This is Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. Hello, welcome to Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. I am Robert, the narrator, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Confessions. Well, this episode of Confessions, I want to talk about how your playstyle can get you in trouble sometimes. Well, as you probably know if you follow the channel at all, I just finished a mini campaign with a couple of buddies from online, and I ran my tabletop role-playing game, Peace the RPG. I did a video on how I love the fact that our playstyles, everyone at the table, myself, David, Jason, and Dell, all of our intentions for play and play styles were the same. But there were a couple of times in the game where my play style may have gotten me in trouble. I don't think that the guys felt the same way. I think they were fine, but I don't know. I'll explain what happened, and maybe they can put some comments below to see what they think. So play styles. What is my play style? My play style is what has been characterized in some of the Facebook groups that I'm a member of as play to find out. When I heard about this, it was perfect, and I never had a way to really encapsulate my play style. And basically what play to find out means is that I let the dice decide. I let the dice fall where they may, and I don't fudge, and I'm not trying to create a neat little narrative or story. So I'm not trying to have a neat beginning, middle, and end for my campaigns or adventures where the heroes end the adventure on top and winning. I let the players' decisions and actions and where the dice fall dictate the story. And that also means that when I run as a game master, I have a world that has an objective reality. So there are things that are true about the world, and there are things that are not true about the world. And this is how this can get you in trouble sometimes. Now, before I go over the couple of examples of how my play style sometimes is not, may not be the greatest or may get me into trouble, something else that's also a part of this, which is a part of my play style, is I am not an adversarial GM. Though I strongly believe in role-playing is about players making decisions and living with the results of those decisions, I'm not an adversarial GM, and I'm actually a fan of the player characters. I want the player characters to succeed, but I'm not willing to put my thumb on the scale to make that happen. And because I'm such a fan of the player characters, when the player characters do something that is impressive or the players do something that really impresses me, as a game master, I like to have the option to reward them, but that part of my play style also causes problems because with my local groups, they have made it very clear that they do not like to have individual players rewarded for things that impress me as a game master or make me happy, because they think it's unfair that players are being pointed out, and it just makes an atmosphere where everybody is trying to impress the GM, and it gets into the circumstance where, why aren't you impressed by what I'm doing? Why were you impressed by what he's doing? And so forth. And I put a survey online in one of the Facebook groups that I'm a member of, and the consensus is pretty much the same. Players don't think that individual player rewards when the GM is impressed by what the players do It's not something that players think that should happen at the table. And I can completely understand that in one respect, but in another respect, I don't really get it. And the reason I don't get it is because I look at role playing as a cooperative endeavor. I look at the players as a cohesive unit, and the group is only as strong as its weakest link. So I always think about it from the point of view is if one of the players does something that earns them a some type of player reward, like a Benny or an action point, that makes the entire group stronger because one member has gained a boon, and because this group is supposed to be one cohesive unit, one player being stronger makes everybody stronger. But I have never had a player approach this circumstance like that. It seems like all players approach the circumstance of player rewards being given to individual players for good role playing or having good ideas. Everyone approaches it from the, why is he getting a benefit and I'm not getting a benefit? Me, which is really kind of unusual or weird to me, but it seems like players don't look at a lot of players don't look at role playing as kind of a collaborative, we're all in this together. If you're stronger, then I'm stronger. Everybody kind of looks at it as, hey, GM, what are you going to do from my character? Me. So that's really too bad. But that is part of one of the things that I wish I could do as a game master, part of my play style that gets me in trouble, because when I'm having a great time because of the players being involved and having great ideas, I want to make them feel great for being great players, but you just can't do it, unfortunately, is the idea that I get. But on to my play style of play to find out. So one thing that happens with play to find out, as I said, when you play in that style where the world has an objective reality, there are things that are true about the world, there are things that are false about the world, it also kind of prevents the game master from throwing the players a bone. And this is what I mean. Two examples. Jason had his character had a brilliant idea. In the first session of our mini campaign, the player characters came upon an encampment of cultists that they had to break up. And the encampment was in two parts. They had an encampment that was made up of 5 large tents. And then the ritual that these cultists were performing were on top of a hill. So there were cultists at the bottom of the hill kind of hanging out in the encampment. And Jason had an amazing idea. He thought, I'm going to take my arrow, I'm going to light the arrowhead on fire, and then I'm going to fire the arrow at the tent furthest away from the entrance up the hill. And that's going to draw the attention of the cultists so we can sneak past them. Amazing idea, fantastic way to approach it. I thought it was really smart. It was really slick. But because the idea is out there that individual players should not get individual rewards, I couldn't reward Jason for that amazing idea. Another example of how my play style can get me in trouble is the player characters wanted to question an NPC. Basically, the NPC was a sergeant of the guard who were responsible for guarding a noble who was visiting a dangerous town. And the noblewoman thought that the sergeant of the guard was acting strange and that they were being somewhat incompetent because she was abandoned for a while, enough time for her child to be kidnapped. So she wanted the PCs to help her out because she thought that her guards were being suspicious. So the player characters decided to separate the sergeant of the guard away from everyone else and interrogate him. And during that interrogation, David's character, who was a human monk, came up with a fantastic idea. his idea was that he was going to tell the sergeant of the guard that the magic user that was in the party had a spell that could read his mind. And so he might as well, if anything funny was going on, the sergeant of the guard, he told him, you might as well tell us what you know, because if you don't, I'm just going to have our magic user cast a spell on you and he'll be able to read your mind. Well, it turns out that the sergeant of the guard was in league with the villain of the entire campaign, and he obviously would not want a spell to be cast on him where he would be compelled to tell the truth or his mind could be read. Of course, it was just a gambit by David's character. The spellcaster in the party did not have a spell that could read his mind. He was just trying to trick the sergeant. So because obviously I knew that the sergeant of the guard was a bad guy and he would not want this revealed, what I had him do was to completely deny that anything was going on and to make a big deal about I don't want this magic user to use his evil magic on me. The only power that I recognize is the power of the gods of the world, and you're not going to do that. And what the sergeant did was he actually used dark magic that he had that increased his ability to intimidate an individual and frightened the magic user in the group so badly that the magic user had to retreat. He basically broke his morale. And that is a circumstance where playing in a world that has an objective reality, and also what I like to do is I like to make sure that my NPCs always act in a way that reinforces their beliefs, what drives them, and their personality. So though David's character had an amazing idea, I did not want to reward him for that idea by just having the sergeant spill his guts, because of the fact that I strictly adhere to the beliefs, the personality, and the goals of the NPC. So in the back of my mind, I felt really bad because I wasn't able to reward David for having such an amazing idea. And my hands were also tied because though it was an amazing idea that I had to thwart with the villain's magical ability that he had, and the fact that he wanted to continue to conceal his allegiance to the bad guy. And the sergeant was also driven by the fact that the bad guy promised him enough power to raise the sergeant's dead wife back to life. So he really had a motivation not to be sussed out as being in league with the bad guy. So that is the reason I made the decision. And I also couldn't just throw David a Benny, they're called battle scars in my game, because I keep hearing from players that, no individual rewards because it warps the game. So those are two examples of how your play style can get you in trouble. So what do you believe? Do you believe that players should not get individual rewards like bennies for good play because it's unfair to everyone at the table? And do you believe in adhering to your play style to the point where you are pretty much unable to reward players for good play, for great ideas, for thinking in a smart fashion, in a wise fashion? Put some comments in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this, your play style getting you in trouble. And thanks for checking out this video. As usual, the 280-page free PDF for my game Peace the RPG is in the description below. If you want to check out the game online and everything that's going on with it, if you go to facebook.com/peace the RPG, PEACE, like love and peace. Even if you don't have a Facebook account, you can go to facebook.com/peace the RPG and check out what's going on there, even without having a Facebook membership. So thanks for checking out this video. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever you're watching this video, and talk to you later.